disrepair. Will it be able to be popped back into place? Who knows? We took a few losses here with a couple races. Tom Payton, one of our veteran racers here, racing in almost every single class here, had some car trouble from the orange track to come over here, as we've had a few guys having car trouble here, uh, from all the beats and the bangs and the bust ups. You see currently here Bo McPherson with a brand new car, as he is racing the Wonder Bread, I think is what it is. Ricky Bobby car fits him perfectly. Uh, just waiting on him to start the races. It looks like Gabriel Kirtley has took quite a bit of damage, possibly a bent axle after a hit like that. So he's probably not going to be returning. These guys are really coming in there close, hanging with each other. We'll get a car off. That looks like Bo's car there off of black. The Ricky Bobby Wonder Bread car. Currently, Randy Kirtley with 12 laps. Jason Howard, close second with 1 lap difference. Paul Woosley with 2 laps difference. Paul Woosley hung out there on white lane, going to have to make up some time. But median lap time with Paul Woosley, quite impressive on white lane with a 1.74. So his car is definitely freed up there. As we see Randy Kirtley's blue and red 43 car there, looking pretty good. Randy Kirtley finishing second earlier in the orange race. So we'll update those laps after this weekend BF Evans Ford is over with. A couple cars beat up there together on black or on red. Looks like the old Wonder Bread come off from the bottom. It's being a brand new car. They tend to be quite quick, I've noticed, right freshly out of the box. But sometimes you just gotta know when to let off. And if they come out of there crooked and they don't have clean tires, or they don't have enough glue on the tires packed in, not just rubbing on the tires. If you just rub it on the tires, just making them oil slick, and it'll come right off in just a few seconds. You got to really pound that glue in. And as you can see, sometimes these guys have different work ethics of what they're going to do with the cars. But Bo McPherson, really a large learner here at Lanes Raceway. Not to mention one of our best customers here, really, at Lanes Raceway. Really passionate. Just fell right into slot car racing. Kind of remind me of me and my brother. His body comes off flying off of a car here, and then the frame itself gets a little bit of a toggle bump there on Dead Man's Corner. We're going to see if we can get deck started working again. We get a little bit of a look at Dead Man's Corner there. Don't know whose car that was that took such a brutal hit to knock its body off. But we see in the top left corner there, it looks like Randy Kirtley looking up underneath the track at something. Something happening here possibly in the back stretch. Let's go to a bigger version of the rear oval. We see Randy Kirtley looking at the track diligently there, looking at the green lane possibly to see what's up with it. Gabriel Kirtley there also giving a good glance over, and Glenn Burden. So we see a car getting slotted back on green here. Currently Randy Kirtley in the lead with 29 laps and median of 1.75 as we head back to the oval stream. 2376 for all your Ford car needs, as we just seen somebody just rip a few laps there by themselves, which was quite strange. Unknown to me why such a thing would take place. But these guys are figuring it out. Maybe a little software glitch. Maybe somebody saying there ain't getting laps. I don't know what's going on. But we'll find out probably towards the end of the race as I go out there. Maybe in between this heat, I'll go out there real quick and see what's going on there. So we got a minute left, and that's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to find out what's going on for you guys. So we get a little bit of a wreck there, and we got a car up there in the trash lane of red. Glenn Burden gets the car put back on green. There was Tim Hall and a car there on yellow. Jason Howard, our second place runner currently. As we go back green here, we'll see what's going on. He's got a very slow car there on purple. That's Jay Latham's car, hardly even moving. Not in good shape. I can't tell if it's I don't believe it's a gear, but that car is in some rough disarray. Maybe a slipped pinion, I don't know. That dude just sure ain't running. Said something about a pinion gear. So we'll see. Glenn Burden there, saying he sees it. My wife just walking into the room. She's also watching the race live. She's going out there and watching it here. It's quite a sight to behold as you hear these cars whizzing around and feel the air coming off of them. Really makes you feel like you're really at a race. I mean, not just a micro machines race, but a real legit race. So we see Bo McPherson coming there off of black. And we also see Paul Woosley putting Gerald Suttle's car back on. Paul Woosley just checking his car real quick there on the back stretch. Randy Kerr, look at that blue and red there on the hot banks there on orange. What a good looking car that is. Extreme catches up. We see all these cars grouping up in the higher lanes there, all of them running relatively close. As we can see the gear ratios giving and taking with some of these cars. So we got a completely stalled out car there on black. And I believe that to be Bo McPherson. That's not what you want to see. As we have an issue here when we get a track call. There's a car that streams across the backstretch there towards Dead Man's Corner. As we see Randy Kirtley's car, beautiful there on orange again, and really good and clean. We get heading back as he's currently your leader here in this race with 64 laps total, followed by Jason Howard right on his heels. As you can see, these guys really digging deep to try to do the best that they can. A lot of chatter going on. So we got only 5 racers left racing currently. As we got 3 of the guys out. Gabriel Kirtley, Bo McPherson, and Jay Latham, all 3 trying to fix their cars. So we head over to the track. And sponsor. right, we got 26 seconds before we go back green. Let's head back to the out there. Wanted to find out what was wrong. Kind of just loosened up on one of his wheels to give him just a little bit of play in that mesh. It's a brand new car. Shouldn't be having those issues. We took her down the drag strip and ran her, and she took off fine and dandy. So I think he's going to get a little bit more love out of it. We even checked his controller to see if it maybe was a controller issue, but it seemed like everything was on the up and up. I always recommend anytime that you do get a car here at Lanes Raceway, it's always a good idea just to tear it down if you have the time. Make sure everything's jigged out right, sorted in good. Make sure everything's lining up perfectly true. That way that when you do take it out there to race it, that you know you went through it. But a lot of times guys just don't have that time. That's why they buy ready to run cars and just outright building themselves a car. As these cars go back live, we see the top lanes there filling up with 4 or 5 cars just clustering up. You can really see the gear ratios change and some come up out of the corner quicker than others. Randy Kirtley just straight getting demolished down the front stretch. Getting hit by 2 different cars. Looks like one of them hitting was Jay Latham. Randy Kirtley's car, that beautiful body that we spent so much time here at Lanes Raceway to make, really taking a hard hit. Probably chipped some of the paint, who knows. Well, I say that, but we do use some of the highest quality paint that you can use on these kind of bodies. It's Traxxas paint. And I'll tell you what, that stuff dries super quick, and it looks super clean, and it's super lightweight, and it holds really well to these Lexan style bodies. As you can tell, Randy Kirtley just took a big spill there and nothing did pop off on the track. So if you're looking for paint to paint your Lexan bodies, whether it be RC or slot car, just know that we sell it here for $10 a can. That's MSRP. And I mean, currently right now, with the way things are, we can't go any lower as we just opened. But you can guarantee that the paint is fresh. We see these guys back underway. We see Jay Latham there on black, staying in line with everybody else, clearing out a little bit of some of the dirt lanes up there as we finally get someone on their button call to press the track, as we had 3 individuals involved in that incident. Paul Woosley right now currently track marshaling as our only track marshal, which we don't need a whole lot of track marshals, as I hear a gear slipping there. It looks like Gerald Suttle's car has a little bit of a slip gear on his car. Probably want to grab that car most likely and maybe tighten that gear before it's too far gone. But I think he got it quick enough that he could actually do that. We see Gerald grabbing his controller heading back to the pits. We're trying to solve this issue at Lanes Raceway as we're creating on the fly pit stands, basically, so that you're still in the game if you just need a quick tighten of the gear or something like that, that this will hook to the track and you'll be able to take your tools and fix your gear right there instead of having to go all the way around to your pit stand like you see Gerald having to do right now. They're currently in development, and when they get here, they have a handle even so that you can pick them up and take them to your next stall, I guess you would like to call it, or your next colored lane. But nonetheless, we're always trying to innovate, trying to come up with new ideas, fresh ideas for slot car racing. I don't think there's anybody else that has killing stations tied to the colored lanes where the racers can actually kill the track. I could be wrong, but I believe we're the only people that do that, commercially speaking. So, it puts the power in the racer's hands. Yes, is it another thing that you have to be thinking about? It is. But at the same time, it keeps the races more tight, which we want. We want people to be more competitive. We don't want them, if they're a beginner and they have a little bit of issues keeping their cars on, we don't want them completely taken out of the game just because they have a wreck here and there. So these guys are able to control that. And if it's more than just a few second job, of course you see them, they have to go to the pits and work on it as we get it right back underway. As we see all these guys tonight really struggling to keep their cars on, really struggling to race side by side with each other, nobody wanting to give an inch, everybody trying to take a mile. And these are the type of sufferings that takes place when nobody gives. You see the back side play of these cars coming around, knocking these cars off. These cars are super light. They're not the lightest by any means, but they are lighter than our GRC class, so they can't take a whole lot of hits without coming off. I see my wife there smiling as she's enjoying herself watching these guys race. She didn't, we probably wouldn't have got into a career about this. So we really do enjoy watching these guys race as we see the end of round two. And we go to the track mate real quick to for this weekend. Give them a call for all your Ford needs. B.F. Evans Ford, Livermore, Kentucky, 42352. Jason Howard currently at top with 137 laps. Really smoking out tonight as Jason Howard, also a car that was built here at Lanes Raceway. He brought his car in one day and he said, Donnie, I want you to go over and I want you to, set the height for the axle. I want you to sort of the bushings in. I want you to make this thing as fast as it can be. Well, he brought it in and we took a once over on it and we sorted in the bushes, made it as tight as we could. And you see him there with an average of 68.5 versus Randy Kirtley's 66. Both of them running identical motors. So, there's no contest there, but it just goes to show you how much extra you get just by having your chassis and stuff freed up. So we'll take a quick look into the pits here. We'll take a look at the 2376 as yet again for all your needs when it comes to servicing your Fords or even other vehicles. I've seen other vehicles be serviced there also. You can also buy, order, or get you a brand new car up there. Jay Latham working diligently on his car as he always does. I also see the man of the hour right now, Jason Howard, currently in the lead, working on his car, checking his phone status. That's all his fans blowing him up right now. All his fans raising the roof for Jason to be back racing as he hasn't been here in the past couple weeks. He's back in the action now as you see that ice cold blue car he's holding in his hand. Trying to start up some more rivalries. Last time he was here, there was a stiff rivalry between him and Bo McPherson. It seems like right now he's starting to stir the pot a little bit by being in the top position. Maybe start a little bit of an issue with the Kirtleys or possibly Paul Woosley. Let's take us a quick look as we got 30 seconds left to go. Take a quick look at the trophy these guys are going to be hoisting up today. Whoever gets first place in all the laps total will be the person that gets to hoist this thing up inside the top of Lanes Raceway for the Fairview IT Cup Series. And just a trophy for the guys and just a little something extra for their efforts here. So we put looks like Deborah Kirtley's car is probably out because he's in here with me holding keys. So I'm assuming he's out for the night. Nonetheless, I mean, I hate to say it, anytime a person enters a race, that's just how racing goes sometimes. It's wreckers, sometimes it's checkers. So I'll be right back with you. We are sitting in here that always comes in here playing pinball. Justin, we call him Justino around here, but you might have seen him on Facebook a couple weekends ago when we had a spur of the moment special thing go on with pinball. I told him, I said, anybody comes down here and can beat me at Godzilla, I'll give them a GRC. Well, he was the only contestant to come down and actually challenge the King of Tokyo, that being me. And he didn't lose too bad for as much as he plays pinball, but you know, nonetheless, we had a good time listening to music. Before the night was over, we were singing karaoke together and playing a little pinball. Back to the racing, we see Jason Howard here still in white, just almost dominating currently, as he's got 183 laps on white. He'll be coming off this lap to set out a heat, or he'll be coming off this heat to set out a heat. Bo McPherson close behind him with 153, so that new car, Bo McPherson's really flying as he's on orange. Jay Latham there in yellow with 132, Glenn Burden with 112, 113. Randy Kirtley currently off, setting his lap out. As we continue this race, we see these guys now able to keep their cars somewhat under control, as were before when we started the race, they were having quite a bit of trouble to keep these things on. There's a great coast there by Tim Hall. That car is really having some good coasting. 376. Don't forget to give them a call for all your Ford needs. Tim Hall turning 64 blistering laps there on purple. On black lane there, Jay Latham really ripping it with 69 laps, as all these guys are really turning quite a few laps. But a lot of debacle going on out there tonight with, you know, anywhere from 3 to 4 people per heat, it seems, coming off because of car trouble. I believe Gabriel Kirtley has completely retired his car. As we go into the pits, it's currently Jason Howard in the lead with 196 laps, 167 Bo McPherson, and Jay Latham with 143. You see Jay Latham there putting the lighter fluid, or Coleman fuel, on his braid and tire, getting them nice and cleaned up for the next heat. You also see Paul Woosley there on the back. They're cutting a little piece of reinforcement tape. So these bodies are 0.7 thousandths thick, I believe is what they are, and they're somewhat really light and don't take a whole lot of damage. So you got to use some reinforcing tape sometimes to keep the pins from popping out. But at the same time, you know, that's just the name of the game. We do sell body armor here at Lanes Raceway to combat this. Also, we got some jigs that really make it quite simple to get your pinholes perfectly level, so there's no extra air being inside of your body that you don't want, because any extra air inside of the body, of course, causes lift. I mean, it's the same thing as like airplanes taking off. You don't want that. You want that air going over the body, causing downforce. Some of these guys really are ripping it hard out here. You see Gerald Suttle and Randy Kirtley eager, biting at the bit for the next heat to take place as we move to the oval stream with 45. All right, we're going by green here. When you see the lights drop, we are green. I just seen my brother leave Lanes Raceway, so whether or not he might be in a heated mood, who knows? Of course, his car is out of the contention tonight. And like I said, sometimes that hits people a little bit different. As our stream goes to catch up, we get a couple more incidents there. Randy Kirtley coming out on the high banks there on red, getting a little bit of an incident. Bo McPherson with his new Wonder Bread car, I believe it is, Ricky Bobby, doing a little bit quick look on his car. As I would be getting that car right back on the lane if it was me, if I could. But he's doing a little bit more work on it than usual. He gets that car back underway as we see Gavin Kirtley entering back into the building. So maybe he was just putting his stuff up, not too upset, as his car has been retired for the evening. Taking his place there looks to help track marshal these cars and get this race back underway. It's been a difficult and tough night here at Lanes Raceway on this Sunday evening for, it seems, every single person that has been racing currently. Everybody, it seems, has had just a little bit of sour luck, except maybe possibly Guillermo, who's not even racing in this race. He really had him a show stunner of a night tonight when it comes to racing. As we calculated up the track bucks that he won in the dual GRC race, he ended up getting $45 track bucks to be able to spend here at the track, which is quite a substantial sum whenever you're talking $20 to race for both races. We currently charge $10.50 a track hour to come here and race on the track for an hour, $6 for 30 minutes, but $20 all day. So respectively, if you're going to be here longer than an hour, you probably just want to go ahead and get the full day. So we get a big incident coming off there as a car exits the track coming off of Randy Kirtley's backside of his vehicle on red lane. I believe it to be Bo McPherson's car, as Gabriel Kirtley's going to take a look at it. And if I know anything, Gabriel's going to look at it. He'll get her fixed right up. Gabriel's been racing slot cars ever since, ever since I was probably 3 years old, and he was 5. So he definitely knows what he's doing. Jay Latham taking over the lead with 191 laps. Bo McPherson in a close second with 185. Randy Kirtley back in with 175 as he goes to try to reel these guys in to the best of his ability. Glenn Burden with 175, right nipping on the heels of Randy Kirtley. These are your two top points leaders currently, Randy Kirtley and Glenn Burden, when it comes to laps turned here at Lanes Raceway for the Fairview IT Cup. This race weekend, of course, sponsored by B.F. Evans Ford here in Livermore, Kentucky on Highway 431. Very much well known for selling trucks, but having the President's Award here for 25 years running, which is quite an accomplishment. Because they got the President's Award one year, of course, I've spoke on this before, they actually had one of the first Ford GTs whenever they were first made back in the early 2000s. And I'll tell you what, I seen it firsthand, and it was quite something to see. Is, you know, you see them on TV and stuff, but it doesn't really make up for when you see it with your eyes and how small them cars really are. They're like little go-karts with just a couple fairings on them. But anyways, it was quite something to see, and we even got to see them take it down the road a little bit. There's quite a bit of racing heritage there at B.F. Evans Ford. Jay Latham currently with 218 laps with an average of 54.5, 196 laps, almost identically running. Jason Howard and Randy Kirtley, both of them really just fist fighting out there if you get right down to it, with 65.3 laps. Glenn Burden with 65. He's nipping at the toes, like I said, of Randy Kirtley. Bo McPherson having a tough night. Also Gerald Tim, Paul Woosley. Gabriel Kirtley really having a rough night with an average of 1.5 laps turned, as all these guys are really just having a rough time tonight. Sometimes you have that in racing. Sometimes it's wreckers. Sometimes it's checkers. And some of these guys are definitely putting up wreckers. It's gotten so bad that I've even had a few guys come up and ask me, said, well, just because I only got to run like 2 or 3 laps that whole race, do I get charged? If you went to a dirt track and entered your car into a race and you made 1 lap and blew your motor, you still get charged. It's just rough as a racer. That's why we really encourage you guys to like, share, subscribe, and send this out to everybody, because every bit of money that we make through this and through advertisement and through these sponsorships, it goes 100% to the guys. And, that's very important to me, and it's very important to my wife and my brother here at Lanes Raceway, that these guys get the recognition that they solely deserve. As anything back. I mean, they're out there. They're putting their time in. They're really teching their cars every single heat to be the best that they can be for you guys here, for your entertainment, so you can see these fast cars go around. At the end of the night, these guys are completely wore out, and they're almost dizzy, I would say, by the time it's over with, especially when they run 4 races here. So, we need all the support that we can get here, so that we can give it back to the guys. And I know they really do appreciate it. Now, it's all in good fun here, but like I said, competition is king here, and we want our guys being tough, whether they're the youngest kid or the grown adult. We want these guys being tough and really competitive racers, with a real kind heart to sportsmanship. 20 seconds left to go. We're going to head back to the old. These guys are getting prepared, hooking their controllers up, ready to go. Gabriel Kirtley's still looking at Bo McPherson's car, as he'll get that thing back up and running. Sometimes downward spirits can kind of hurt the feelings, but it kind of hurts the feelings really when you get a car here and you can't just seem to get it to go like you want right out of the gate. But Bo McPherson, very high-spirited fella, and pretty good, tremendous help here at Lanes Raceway when it comes to helping the guys out. As you can see, he's there track marshaling as he sets out, and we get a couple more of these cars rolling around the track. Quite a quick cluster group there on the lower lanes of black, purple, and yellow. Is black and purple really fighting it out there. That'd be Gerald Suttle and Glenn Burden. Some of the front runner guys here. Gerald Suttle, first race weekend at Fairview IT, he actually got first or second place, if I recall. So we've got a little bit of a quick touch there on the button. A bit of a double tap there as we get everybody lined up behind the line so they can catch their lap. That's Gabriel Kirtley putting them behind the line. We see that fast car of Jason Howard there on red. He's now having to turn some laps there on the longer lane. This will cost him some laps as everybody else underneath him is running hard for position. You'll start seeing Jason Howard falling off to the guys in the lower lanes as we see Jay Latham going to be coming out on this heat. And in the green lane, we see Randy Kirtley coming back from his set out. So he's making up some laps. Glenn Burden right there nipping on his heels. And Jason Howard there nipping on the heels of Glenn Burden. So Jason Howard really just trying to survive for at least one heat, as Red Lane is really suffraging when it comes to racing these fast cars. But he's doing a really good job staying there with Jay Latham. As Jay Latham gets in contact on Red Lane, that was kind of hard to see there. So we get contact there with Jason Howard's car there on red. Jason Howard currently turning a median of 1.82 on red, respectable for Red Lane. Jason Howard's car there on red in the high banks. I was just talking to my wife real quick about how big that wreck was on the backstretch with him and Jay Latham. Usually wrecks that hard just directly into the back of another car tends to cause damage to both vehicles, usually in the form of a bent axle or busted gear for the most action on these kind of cars. But it seems like both of them came out unscathed as they're both blistering speeds fast carrying on ahead. As they collide together again, are we starting to see the beginnings of a rivalry between Jay Latham and Jason Howard here? This is the second time we have seen these guys get together right there in that same little edge corner. Quite a spectacle to see here. If these guys don't start lifting and letting each other go by, we might see some broke cars here. As we go back green, we see Jay lifting a little bit having a little bit of an issue coming out there on White Lane, as probably the right pan of the car is probably bent downward, and as when he's going through the crook of the track, it's pulling him out. This is most likely the typical issue that happens on these upper lanes, is they're able to carry just a little bit more speed through the corners. So when you get into that crook of the track, really you need to, quite frankly, just give it a little tiny blip just to slow the front end of the car down so that it sets a little bit. But most everybody just wide open floors it, and when that happens, it's a gamble, you know. I mean, there's skill in these races and there's skill in these tracks. So just remember, if you ever come here to Lanes Raceway and you got a real fast car like Jay's and everybody else's, a friendly blip or even a bend on the old chassis can help quite a bit. As we get a car almost take Jason Howard out there on red, that car comes straight across and hit the side of the wall. Blue car, I don't know whose car that is. It's not used to coming off. Gerald Suttles comes straight for Jason Howard. Of course, here at Lanes Raceway, I told some guys one time, I said, I might reward you if you can knock that TV out. There's a TV right there to the left of Jason Howard in the black shirt there and the blue shorts. And it's way up on the wall. We've had a few guys try to aim for it and go for it, but we ain't yet had anybody actually take the TV out. So we continue running back around this race. Getting a little bit later in the evening as time approaches for people to get ready to want to go home, and we're approaching 9 o'clock here, Central Time in Livermore, Kentucky. Around about halfway, a little bit over halfway. So we're probably, if all things well, going good, and we don't have any severe damage take place. Probably be another 30 minutes or so for the race is completed. As we go back green racing here, we can see all these cars here quite a little bit clustering up. We get another yellow flag, 10 seconds left on the clock, and that was Glenn Burton that came off in his purple and white car. That is a race pace body that he got here at Lanes Raceway. We did a little bit of modifying, put a white sticker over the number so he could have his numbers correct. See Bo McPherson there with quick hands getting the car on. Another incident taking place as people are not looking ahead of their cars. We have 2 seconds left in this heat as neither one of those cars grabbed their lap, either Paul Woosley or Tim Hall, so they get put behind the line to get those laps, or Jared Sutton, excuse me. And it looks like Glenn Burton's getting added into the mix also, being put on purple. So a little bit of a cluster up here. Will anybody lift, or will it just get hard? As we go through the yellow flag, red flag condition to do a lane rotation. Looks like added a second there. Sounds like possibly a guide wire is getting up underneath the chassis of Jay Latham's car. So we get the red flag truly this time, and we get a lane rotation. So we take a quick look here at the track mate. What I want to look at is these averages. So we see Randy Kirtley and Glenn Burton there beating each other down, 66.5, 66.2, and right on their heels, Jason Howard. These are the three guys you need to really be watching in this race, as they really are straight out fist fighting each other for that lead position. Each and every one of them within 6 laps of each other in competition, and all it takes is a stripped gear. All it takes is a blown motor. All it takes is a bent chassis for one of these guys to have to come off the track, and that is the difference between your first, second, and third place people. days. We see Bo McPherson there coming back in on red lane, as I believe he just locked his truck. But he's not focusing so much on racing as he is on that truck being locked, which I can't hardly blame him. A nice truck he just got a couple weeks ago, and believe it or not, a Ford truck at that. As we see these cars really hammering down now and being quite competitive. A big difference, as you guys can tell from the beginning of this race, it was just pure out debacle. We would be surprised by the end of the heat if one, maybe two cars were finishing, but I may have spoke too soon, as we have cars just running through like there's no problem whatsoever. All these cars are probably completely debacled, as that was a straight hard hit coming off of the outside lane there. It's really quite hard, as fast as these cars go, to be able to keep one eye on Dead Man's Corner and one eye in front of your car, basically. You almost have to be spread-eyed to be able to keep the reaction up. But I always go by sound for the most part. If you hear a car thud, maybe look ahead of your car and lift a little bit to see what's going on ahead of you. But a lot of these guys, like I said, just trying to get as many laps as they can. They're literally eagle eye or hawk eye focused in just solely on their car to be able to pull as many laps as they can. That was a good lap kill, as you've seen Bo McPherson's car come gently off of red lane there. He was able to kill it before other cars could smash into him. So we see the green lane there, Jason Howard really cranking it in still. 33 laps trying to catch Glenn Burden with his 38 and Randy Kirtley. These guys are going to be sticking around. As Jason Howard really has quite a good advantage here if he can keep his car running to maybe possibly take that lead, as he is going to be finishing in the lower lanes. He may not see that yet, but there's other people that are already in the lower lanes, as we see Randy Kirtley moving up to the higher lanes. So he's going to start losing time, where you're going to start seeing Jason gaining time. So it's really interesting to see these top three battle it out. It seems like Jason, every time he comes, I need to put a mailbox up for at least third place. But it looks like maybe this time he might be able to pull off at least the second place, depending on the current situation at hand. As we see a difference between these guys of 4 laps, Jason, of course, on green lane, but able to pick up quite a few more laps once he goes lower. As Glenn Burden is as low as you can go there on black lane, really turning out to 63, 64 laps, approximately 2 or 3 laps ahead of Jason. Randy Kirtley there in the lead there on blue, but moving up the board, as we see on blue lane. As we get a red flag and an end to this lane rotation, we take a quick look at the track mate to see We see Randy Kirtley with an average of 68, Glenn Burden with an average of 67.4, and Jason Howard with an average of 65.6. Your top 3 runners, and they're battling for position. Had a small talk there with my brother. He's going to be heading out, as he's got a 1-hour trip up to Oakland. He's afraid that maybe as late as it's getting, that he might not be able to get gas in his truck. And I will tell you, the truck is such a big monster truck. It almost belongs on a Baja setting of some sort. It's 70 miles per hour. I don't know. Maybe it gets better than that, but it's a Honda truck for sure. So we see B.F. Evans little trophy that we made this week for this race weekend. Every other race weekend, we get a little bit, about a week, to be able to print out something. We had a print that I thought just went perfect with it. That nice circle podium for a Ford GT to go up on it, with a VF Evan Sport logo to represent what VF Evan Sport reminds me of, and that is speed, quality, and due diligence when selecting your Ford Motorsport or Ford vehicle. Head to the we see Gabriel Kirtley kneeling down at Jay Latham, seeing what he's doing, soldering iron in hand, melting a little bit of solder there as you see that cloud of smoke go up. Jay Latham having a little bit of an issue possibly with his car. With 23 seconds left to go, every one of these guys are going to have to hurry up if they're wanting to be for the starting whistle. Let's head back to the oval track. All right, we're back. It seems like we got 6 people hooked up. Randy Kirtley coming in. 4 seconds left to go to get his hooked up. Jay Latham over there just kind of stuck in a holding pattern. Hey, Jay, gonna have to track marshal. Jay Latham's probably just going to accept that he's going to take a 10-lap loss here. And that's fine, because that's how it goes here at Lanes Raceway. We get another track call happening. It looks like possibly Tim Hall's really bright and beautiful little body he got there on white. Tim Hall usually loves the color green, as most of his stuff is set up green. He's got a FCR body, I believe it is. It is like toxic colored green, like Slimer from Ghostbusters. Maybe it was his Indy car, I can't remember, but it's a really pretty green. Of course, I really do like the greens, as you can see. We got that Lamborghini green right there, the same color as the track here. As our stream catches back up, these cars are going back green, and they're really flying as fast as they possibly can. We see some, a little bit of bumper-to-bumper action there as my wife goes to try to put the car back on. Well, she's driving 2 cars. Whether or not she's going to put cars back on is unknown at this point. There is track call buttons on these driver stations, as it is for the driver individual to call that. It's not up to the track marshals currently given to have to deal with that, as we don't have enough track marshals on the track. As Jay Latham goes back green on red lane, I thought he was actually setting out this lane, but he's actually in. As we lost a racer, being my brother, we don't actually have a track marshal. So I'm guessing this is going to be one of the races that he drops out. So it'll be him that takes a 10-lap penalty, not Jay Latham. So I just misspoke. As we see cars getting hit left and right, people are just pounding the track buttons, as nobody is wanting to lift, nobody is wanting to supersede their lead over someone else, just driving as hard as they can. This happens sometimes. You see the blue car on blue lane, Jason Howard, still fighting for position, trying to increase his position. So he's turning 29 laps, making a somewhat safe feel for home here on blue lane in 3rd place, maybe putting back up his fence post and his mailbox in 3rd position. As we see Randy Kirtley there on purple lane, really the car standing out almost a hyper blue like Sonic the Hedgehog, blistering through on purple lane, getting in front of the yellow car just barely of Glenn Burden. Glenn Burden not lifting an inch as these guys are racing for position. As Randy Kirtley goes over there to help put cars on for my wife here as we are down a guy. Normally in normal races, whenever we're not live streaming, I would be out there helping these individuals get their cars put back into place. But since the live stream's going on, trying to commentate this fast mess going on as much as possible as Randy takes the boot from Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley gives Randy Kirtley just a little bit of a love tap, costing him a lap. Like I said, they're all three racing for position, as the averages have changed in the past two heats. You're pretty much looking at solidified first, second, and third for the most part, unless something catastrophic takes place. As we see these cars just in a complete disarray here, 3 and 4 and 5 cars pile up right before the start finish line. As we see that Bo McPherson, Gerald Suttle, and Jason Howard all involved in that incident. Jason and Glenn Burton turning almost identical lap times and median times of 1.62, 1.64, literally 0.02 of a second different in lap time. As the car comes off and drains itself off into the black lane there, I think that's Gerald Suttle, possibly braid, maybe a little bit of a bend, just really depends. Gerald Suttle is going to go back behind the line. Says, I don't think he believes he got the lap there. He might not have. If he did, he'll get a breakout, a black box that will take place. So we see all kinds of wrecks going on. It's been a trend tonight. I don't know what else to say. These guys are not in true form. As they took a week off last week, pretty much. Hardly anybody raced in the Fairview IT Cup break week whenever it doesn't go for points. But they come back thinking maybe they still got the gift, and I think they're all finding out that they don't. And it's starting to show as a lot of these guys are getting involved in quite a few wrecks. Just a couple weeks ago, whenever they was racing, though, they were probably at the peak that I've seen them so far. Literally lifting, just giving a little bit of a lift to let others by that were faster than them, and gassing by on the straight stretches when given an opportunity. But we are not seeing that tonight, as this is quite a rough race. A lot of damage taking place with several of these individuals racing, and you really hate to see it, because you don't like to see anybody have to use their time when they should be making laps, use their time fixing their car. As like I said, Bo McPherson had to straight up, since the last race, buy him a new car, as he had almost cracked one of his frames in the rear quarter. But that just goes to show you how fast these cars are actually going. As one of them comes off and about takes Jay Latham's left leg out, Bo McPherson's car, that's a brand new car, or was, as it takes flight there, coming off of the green lane towards the backstretch, as we get somewhat of a eagle V flying pattern here, or goose flying pattern of these guys in the backstretch. We'll see how they cluster up. They cluster up, and it seems like they make it through, but we get a little bit of contention between orange and green as orange lifts, Gerald Suttle letting them go by, and we get a red flag into the next heat. As we see our averages here in the track mate, we can see these averages now spreading out: 66, 67, 69. Like I said, you're probably looking at your top three here. As we got 2 heats left to go, it could change, and Jason Howard could give up third position to Tim, but the likelihood is probably not that good, being that Tim only has 1 heat left to run, and Jason still yet has 2 to run. So we see probably your top 3 here going into this next heat. happened again. Okay. I'm gonna have to fix that really quick.